Stand next to an NBA player, and you already start thinking about height. Now picture a world where even NBA superstars look up, literally. Imagine Shaq tilting his head. Imagine LeBron grinning because, for once, someone else is towering over him. These aren't just tall guys, they're outliers. You'll see records that may never be touched, careers derailed by bodies not built for the grind. At number 10, we've got a man who turned defense into an art form, Mark Eaton, standing an incredible 7 feet 4 inches tall. Before he ever blocked a single NBA shot, Mark was working as a mechanic. That's right, he fixed cars for a living. Basketball wasn't even on his radar until a coach spotted him in a garage and told him he was wasting his potential under an engine. That single conversation changed his life forever. When Eaton finally made it to the Utah Jazz, he wasn't just tall, he was disciplined, focused, and impossible to score on. In the 1984-85 season, he shattered records with 456 blocks. That's the most ever in a single NBA season. To put that in perspective, some players don't even reach that number in their entire careers. Eaton averaged 5.6 blocks per game, a number that still looks unreal today. He was the heart of Utah's defense, a calm, reliable presence who didn't need to trash talk or show off. He just did his job, and he did it better than almost anyone who's ever played. Teammates loved him, opponents respected him, and fans admired his quiet dominance. Sadly, in 2021, Mark Eaton passed away after a cycling accident near his home, but his legacy remains as one of the most feared rim protectors in NBA history, the man who went from turning wrenches to turning away shots. And while Mark Eaton built his reputation on discipline and defense, the next giant on our list became famous for something completely different, being one of the most beloved fan favorites the NBA has ever seen. Coming in at number 9 is a player who doesn't just stand tall, he stands out. Tacko Fall, the 7'5" gentle giant from Senegal, became one of the most beloved figures in modern basketball, not because of his stats, but because of his story. Born in Dakar, Tacko didn't pick up a basketball until he was 16. When he first arrived in the United States, he barely spoke English, but he stood taller than most NBA players already. Scouts couldn't believe their eyes. His wingspan stretched over 8 feet. And at the NBA Draft Combine, he broke records for standing reach and height without shoes. Tacko played college ball at the University of Central Florida, where he quickly became a fan favorite. His size made him an unstoppable defender, but it was his personality that won people over. He was humble, soft-spoken, and always smiling. A giant with the energy of a kid living his dream. In 2019, Tacko went undrafted, but the Boston Celtics gave him a shot. The moment he stepped onto the court, fans went crazy. Entire arenas would chant, "We want Tacko," until the coach finally put him in. Even if he played just a few minutes, the crowd roared like he'd hit a game winner. Off the court, Tacko became a social media sensation, appearing in commercials, viral videos, and community events. At number 8, we have a player who made NBA history in just 3 minutes of game time. Bhullar, standing 7 feet 5 inches tall and weighing over 360 pounds, became the first player of Indian descent to ever play in the NBA, a moment that inspired millions around the world. Sim's journey started in Canada, where he was born to Punjabi parents. Basketball wasn't exactly the national obsession there, but his extraordinary size and soft hands made him impossible to ignore. After dominating in college at New Mexico State, he declared for the 2014 NBA draft. He went undrafted at first, but fate and a bit of marketing gave him another chance. In 2015, the Kings signed him to a 10-day contract, and that's when Sim made his mark. He checked into a game against the Minnesota Timberwolves and officially became the first Indian origin player to step on an NBA court. He played just 3 minutes, scored no points, but it didn't matter. The moment itself made history. At number 7, we've got Pavel Podkolzin, a Russian giant whose NBA career was as short as his potential was enormous. Standing 7 feet 5 inches tall, he was supposed to be the next great big man, but sometimes the body that gives you power can also hold you back. Pavel's story starts in Siberia, where his height made him stand out long before he ever held a basketball. By the time he was a teenager, he was already over 7 feet tall and playing against grown men in Russia's professional leagues. His combination of strength and size made him a must-watch prospect, and by 2004, NBA scouts were obsessed with him. That year, he was drafted by the Utah Jazz with the 21st overall pick, then traded to the Dallas Mavericks on draft night. The hype was real. Dallas fans were eager to see if this giant could become their secret weapon in the paint. But almost as soon as his NBA journey began, it started to crumble. Pavel struggled with injuries, especially to his feet, a common problem for players his size. The league's fast pace and athletic guards exposed the limitations of his massive frame. Over 2 seasons, he played just 6 NBA games, scoring only 4 points total before returning to Europe. Back home, though, Pavel built a solid career. He played more than a decade in Russia and Italy, becoming a respected veteran and proving that success doesn't always need the NBA spotlight. Number 6, meet Chuck Nevitt, the man who proved that you don't have to be a superstar to make NBA history. Standing at 7 feet 5 inches, Chuck was known less for his stat sheet and more for one unforgettable title, the tallest player ever to win an NBA championship. Born in South Carolina, Chuck played college ball at NC State before entering the league in the early 1980s. He wasn't the most skilled player or the quickest on the floor, but his size alone made him valuable in an era obsessed with dominant centers. During his 9-year career, Nevitt played for several teams, including the Houston Rockets, Detroit Pistons, Chicago Bulls, and the San Antonio Spurs. But his most famous stint came with the Los Angeles Lakers. In 1985, he won an NBA championship alongside legends like Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Even though he didn't play a single minute in the finals, he still earned that ring, and a special place in basketball trivia forever. Chuck wasn't a flashy player. In fact, he averaged fewer than 5 minutes per game across his entire career. But what made him stand out was his attitude. He embraced his role as the locker room favorite, the easygoing, funny giant who kept teammates loose during pressure moments. At number 5 is a player who wasn't just tall, he was transformative. Yao Ming, standing 7 feet 6 inches tall, became one of the most influential athletes in basketball history, bridging cultures, markets, and generations like no one before him. Born in Shanghai, Yao was destined to play basketball. His father stood 6 feet 7 inches and his mother 6 feet 3 inches, both former players on China's national teams. It's often said that Yao was the product of a government plan to breed elite athletes, but regardless of the origin, his talent spoke for itself. By the time he entered the 2002 NBA draft, Yao was already a superstar in China, dominating the Chinese Basketball Association. The Houston Rockets selected him as the number 1 overall pick, making him the first international player ever chosen first without playing college ball in the U.S. The pressure was immense. An entire nation watched every move. But Yao didn't just meet expectations, he shattered them. Despite early doubts that he couldn't handle the NBA's physicality, Yao quickly silenced critics. His footwork was smooth, his mid-range jumper automatic, and his court vision unusually sharp for a man his size. He averaged 19 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 blocks per game, earning 8 All-Star selections and 5 All-NBA honors. He made Shaquille O'Neal, the league's biggest name at the time, look small, and even Shaq himself admitted, "He's the only guy who made me look up." But Yao's true impact went far beyond stats. He opened the NBA to a new global audience, turning millions of Chinese fans into lifelong followers of the game. Unfortunately, his towering frame came with a price. Repeated foot and ankle injuries cut his career short in 2011, at just 30 years old. At number 4, we have a player who became one of the most recognizable and misunderstood giants in NBA history, Shawn Bradley, standing at 7 feet 6 inches tall. Born in West Germany and raised in Utah, Bradley was a phenomenon from the start. In high school, he was already blocking shots like a video game cheat code, and by the time he hit college, he was rewriting record books. At BYU, he once blocked 14 shots in a single game, a record that still stands in NCAA history. When the Philadelphia 76ers drafted him 2nd overall in 1993, expectations were sky high. Bradley's size and athleticism made him a defensive nightmare, and for over a decade, he earned his reputation as one of the best shot blockers in the league. In 1997, while playing for the Dallas Mavericks, he led the NBA in total blocks with 288 that season. But what made him famous also made him a target. Because of his height and slim frame, Bradley became the guy every dunker wanted to humiliate. Stars like Tracy McGrady, Shaquille O'Neal, and even Kobe Bryant made posters out of him. But to his credit, he never backed down. He kept challenging shots, game after game. Fans also remember him from the 1996 movie Space Jam, where he appeared alongside Michael Jordan as one of the players whose talents were stolen by aliens, a fitting metaphor for his unique presence on the court. Bradley's career lasted 12 seasons, averaging 8 points, 6 rebounds, and 2.5 blocks per game, solid numbers for a defensive specialist who never tried to be the star. Tragically, in 2021, Shawn's life took a devastating turn when he was paralyzed from the chest down after a cycling accident. At number 3, we've got a player whose time in the NBA was so brief, it's easy to miss him in the record books, yet his height guarantees he'll never be forgotten. Meet Slavko Vranes, the 7'6" Montenegrin center whose NBA career lasted all of 3 minutes. Born in what is now Montenegro, Slavko was a towering presence from the moment he could walk. By 14, he was already over 7 feet tall and playing professionally in Europe. His size alone made him impossible for scouts to ignore. In 2003, the New York Knicks took a chance on him in the second round of the NBA draft, hoping to find the next Yao Ming or at least a reliable rim protector. But things didn't go as planned. The Knicks released him before the season even began. Shortly after, the Portland Trail Blazers offered him a 10-day contract, a brief window to prove himself. In January 2004, Slavko finally checked into an NBA game against the Minnesota Timberwolves. He played for just 3 minutes, didn't take a single shot, and that was it, his entire NBA career, over before most people even noticed. Afterward, Slavko went back to Europe, where his career flourished quietly. He played for top clubs in Serbia, Turkey, and Iran. At number 2 is a player who wasn't just tall, he was mythic. Manute Bol, standing at a jaw-dropping 7 feet 7 inches, was more than a basketball player. He was a symbol, a legend, and one of the most unique human beings to ever step onto an NBA court. Born in South Sudan, Manute grew up in a Dinka tribe where height was common. But even among tall people, he was an anomaly. Stories say his mother was nearly 6 feet 10 and his father over 6 feet 8. When a coach spotted him in Sudan, he reportedly didn't even know what basketball was. The coach had to teach him from scratch how to dribble, shoot, even how to run the court properly. Manute's path to the NBA was anything but easy. He spent years in Africa and college in the U.S. before finally joining the Washington Bullets in 1985. Once there, he immediately made his mark, not as a scorer, but as a shot-blocking machine. In his rookie season, he racked up 397 blocks in 80 games, averaging nearly 5 blocks per game, which still stands as a rookie record. Over his 10-year career with Washington, Golden State, Philadelphia, and Miami, Ball averaged 3.3 blocks per game, but just 2.6 points. He remains the only player in NBA history with more career blocks than points. But Manute wasn't defined by stats alone. At number 1, the tallest player in NBA history, Gheorghe Muresan. Standing at an incredible 7 feet 7 inches, he edges out Manute Bol by just a few millimeters. But Gheorghe wasn't just tall, he was skilled, funny, and one of the most beloved big men the league has ever seen. Born in a small village in Transylvania, Romania, Gheorghe didn't come from an athletic family. His father was about 5 feet 9 inches, his mother around 5 feet 7 inches. His remarkable height was actually the result of a pituitary gland condition that caused his body to grow far beyond normal limits. Doctors discovered it early, but instead of holding him back, it became his superpower. In 1993, Gheorghe made the leap to the NBA, signing with the Washington Bullets, now Wizards. At first, fans thought he'd just be a novelty, another tall guy who couldn't move. But they were wrong. Gheorghe worked hard to develop footwork, touch, and awareness that most players his size never had. By his third season, he was dominating the paint. In 1996, he averaged 14.5 points, 9.6 rebounds, and 2.3 blocks per game, leading the league in field goal percentage and winning the NBA's Most Improved Player award. For a man who could literally peek over the rim, he had a surprising